Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Colney Talk Podcast, a bite-sized show. I'm your host Alex, first-time guest, happy to have you here. And to my returning listeners, thanks for joining me. On this bite-sized show, I talk a bit about the Arsenal game and then pick out my top 3 Arsenal players who I think were great in the game and one player I consider the odd one who just had a poor game or not good enough who just needs to be called out. Monday night game, Arsenal down at Brimwell Lane, and as you would expect, manhandled Sheffield United. Busted the game open in every single way. No change in the lineup from last game, but Partey and Vieira on the bench. Amazing. Leading up to this game, I was not quite comfortable, as in a surprise battle for Arsenal, not knowing what to expect from Sheffield United playing at home. But I wasn't worried about any side of complacency, not with this team, not at all, not with the discipline that they had. And I knew they had so much understanding of how they had to keep this game up and play with so much respect for this team. 1 minute into the game, ping pong shots from Saka hitting the crossbar and rebounding from Martinelli's attempt as well. Early warning signs of things to come. Sheffield United managed to get in a cross into Arsenal's box, but that was cleared away. And so the rain started. Goals in this case, that is. Clever run by Declan Rice, playing well up in the box. Pulled it back for Odegaard to finish. Boom. 1-0. 5-star for Arsenal. And then in that, seeing Austin Trusty defending Saka. I mean, damn. Sorry, dude. The passes coming from Arsenal were cutting Sheffield United wide open like butter. Saka had another chance to shoot, but it was slightly blocked off. And he missed it, and even though with a shot off, it was still blocked. But the harmony in positional movement from Arsenal was so fluid. It was just flat out impressive. They just did not lose the ball in tight spaces at the edge of the box, recycling the ball, driving in the box with not just touches in the box, but decisive passes to really let out the final shot. And that meant something. Saka smoked Trusty running in the box with a shot that bounced off Bogle for an own goal, and now that was 2-0. I mean, the rain just was coming in hard. Merely seconds after restarting from the second goal, we got our third goal, and it was from Martinelli. And with a no-look assist from Kivia, 3-0. I mean, this was 14 minutes first half. As the game went on, we had to build from the back again, as we usually do. Ryan made the best out of a poor pass touch, but he cleared that ball, and the game just started. Sheffield's second drive, I think, came with a wide shot just to get them somehow into the game. Credit to them, they tried. And then Sheffield switched to a back five after the third goal, realizing that it was so impossible for them to play in a 4-4-2 position because it wasn't for them. And that wasn't a problem for Arsenal either. Pinning Sheffield back, swinging the ball across wings to Martinelli and Saka and just opening up the spots. It was just ridiculous. A defensive set piece for Arsenal came through a free kick, but there wasn't much going there. Second balls and gang defending in the middle was just what we did best. And in this game, we took care of business, kept the ball away from our half, regaining the ball from most positions that we were mostly interested in. And that was raining on with Rice, Martinelli, and Jorginho doing it at the best ways. And then you had Martinelli pestering the center backs in so much ways. In one play, he was throwing off the ball. That freed up Havertz to punish Sheffield with a fourth goal. Whoa, what a finish, Havertz. I mean, this was humiliation confirmed. Arsenal were displaying one-touch sweetness at the edge of the box. Now, you've heard me say this before, but it was just happening on and on. We've done that as our identity, but with Sheffield, they played. It felt like they were playing with fear, but they just couldn't stop anything. They couldn't sniff out the passes. They couldn't block the shots. They couldn't stop defenders. In one of those plays, he ended up with a horrible tackle on Odegaard. Thank God he didn't get hurt, because that was a frustration from Sheffield, seeing how they couldn't do anything with the game as it went so far. And you can see the frustrations were all over the Sheffield players. They couldn't catch the ball. They couldn't do anything. Spot-on passes from Arsenal were just too much for them to handle. And you may hear me say this quite often, but it seemed the low block was a playground for Odegaard. He was just dancing with 2 feet in tight spaces with 2 Sheffield defenders on him. Even so, nothing stopped the game flow except a blocked shot that you would expect, with all the defenders all the way back, and then we would recycle the ball and keep going. That was the summary of the first half, and we did that brilliantly. Now, let me say something. When you have the brilliance of Odegaard and Saka show out in the game, you can definitely guarantee something special will happen. And I'd like to show evidence by goal number 5 from Declan Rice. This was one of many evidence showing sublime radiance by these guys. I mean, Saka found his spot, and then Odegaard didn't hesitate to release the ball to him to pull it back for Rice to power it in. Sheffield were all behind the ball in that play and flat out could not lay their body on the player, let alone the ball. 5-0. I mean, it just felt unreal. And at this point, Arsenal's primary mission was to secure our clean sheet. And we weren't just there at the halftime. But then, seeing how much we had rained down all these goals on them, we were just counting a few minutes. And just as halftime was getting called, I didn't mention Jorginho, as you would think he was the architect of Arsenal's attacking express. But he wasn't. That's just wild. And that was it for the first half. Second half, early sub, Vieira coming in for Saka. That was just good, and glad he's back, and good to see him get a lot of game time of the 45 in the second half, and to see how sharp he is. And he looked it right out. He with a clip pass for Martinelli in a quick run. Man, he showed a little bit of pace there, but then Martinelli couldn't connect with it. But that was a bright moment for Vieira, and at least the confidence stack for him. Arsenal were still in the mood to score another, and I could not believe how Arsenal were carving Sheffield out with their passes. Again, you can just take a sip of whatever, just hearing me say this several times, because it was just happening nonstop. And it was in tight spaces. And yes, the moves were so sharp, crisp. I mean, yeah, I do sound surprised, and that's because I didn't understand how the game was just dictated this bad by Arsenal. Sheffield were defending air quotes here, as if many of the players were on yellow cards, and they weren't. Maybe just a couple of them. Oof, the link-up passes from Arsenal was just dazzling. It was brilliant play, and it was the most I'd seen Arsenal play at the edge of the opponent's box and just dictated in so many formations. I mean, this was, yes, 5-0, but they did not let off the gas. They were playing with so much terror, really wanting to score more. And now, this, from a link-up play from Arsenal and the way they were playing, this was, to me, the most adulterated shot by Ben White. Like, are you crazy? Left-footed shot from Ben White? Man, I didn't know about that with this game, man, because Benny Blanco, oh, hell. He was just ridiculous. And then, another bright moment for Sheffield. They passed through in Arsenal's box. I guess it was a fortunate moment for them with a chance to shoot, but it was just straight right into Raya. But then from that, it was not a good look seeing Martinelli help off with an injury. Fingers crossed. Like triple fingers crossed. Like nothing bad with him there. And then more Arsenal subs came in at this point. Jesus, Partey, and Cedric for Martinelli, Jorginho, and Ben White. I mean, to tell you how much we are taking this game out, so far out, with so much in the game, tells you like we just had this all in lockdown. And then from the 65th minute in the game, that's when Sheffield had a meaningful moment with the ball. Well, it had to happen at some point, but that wasn't really about it. But with still a lot of time in the game, Arsenal needed to stay high, concentrated, with so much intent on keeping the clean sheet. And so it was game management with the final sub, seeing Trossard come in for Rice. As the game went on, it was now, as you would think, a back and forth with both teams. But then the superiority in the game kept showing itself, where Arsenal was just dealing with Sheffield's high press as another routine, when Arsenal was just defend brilliantly and move the ball. But then with that, you could see some of the rust in these other, French players. But Partey isn't a French player, but you can see that with him being out for so long, when Arsenal had to quickly track back from a lost ball or poor pass from Partey. Things weren't quite as smooth after the subs came in because a few of these back passes were really poor and just breaking up the rhythm in Arsenal's game flow. But thankfully, it wasn't so much of a threat. And then a couple of brilliant plays here and there. One of them from Partey to Jesus. He probably would have scored when he had that, but then his happy feet wouldn't just let him what he would do. So it got in his way, and then the defenders closed down that chance that he got. But he did have a few of those bright sparks when he came on. But it was really also good for Partey to break off the rust in this game, in the situation, to kind of like figure out how things were. Winding down minutes, Arsenal continued to control the tempo, fending off any threats from Sheffield United, if they had any at this point. And I was just counting down the last minutes to just seeing how we've already put them out of the misery, and that was it. 6-0, 3 points, clean sheet secured. Wow, I mean, goals from different Arsenal players, yeah, we've done in the past, but this was another fashion, top class performance. I mean, unbelievable dominance. Played really well, and the icing on the cake was giving Vieira, Partey, and Jesus some game minutes because we know this tougher games coming in. We need them game sharp. Jumping straight to my top 3 performers. First player, Captain Odegaard. He was ice skating on the field. I mean, passing, dribbling, commanding the ball to the right places. He really was skating all over. All around perfect game for the captain. It was hard not to see Odegaard take out at least 2 Sheffield players out of position, leaving Rice and Saka or Havertz just waiting to pounce and finish. High marks for the captain. He was unbelievably good. Even with that, you may consider this game difficulty like mid-high, but not everyone. I don't think that many people that could put up a display like that from him because it was something. Second player, Declan Rice. A lot more offensive than his usual shutdown sergeant in the middle, and Rice was incredible. He really was. If anyone recalled when he talked about bringing more to his game in one of his interviews and that he's learning, this offensive part of his is growing and it's huge. I mean, he has shown in the past before. This game, he played freely. He played all the way up, and Jorginho gave him that freedom to do so. And his 2 powerful shots I clocked were quite huge, and that's something. It's really going to come up again in a few other games, and at least we know he has it in his locker. Amazing display from Rice. Not that it's any surprise. Third and final player, Havertz. His support runs were on a dime. So instinctive in his movements and positioning before any play develops. Next to Jorginho, Havertz is the player that makes me see the game differently, and I'm so grateful for that. The runs, switches, assists, different interceptions, and breaking up plays from the opposition are all shades of a world-class player, and he really is. And to top that off, his goal was just clean, straight up clean. He's definitely in the category now, to me, of first names of the starting lineup for Arsenal in every game. He's just good. He's really good, and he just continues to make every player around him step up. Special shout out to Martinelli though, because he was a terror in the attack, doing a lot on that left flank, and was amazing. Hoping his injury isn't really bad, because that hopping off was quite a worry. And as I like to say in this portion of the pod, no odd one. Nothing to call here, nothing to see here, and long may that continue. The boys did their thing. Big ups to all of them. They played really well, and Kivior, just seeing how he's just now in the rotation is quite a good feeling. Another tricky game comes next. Now here's my question: is Ramsdale going to be in goal for this one? We'll see. Either way, we move. And with that, I'll finish it off here, folks. Talk to you all soon. Take care.